Hey, today I'm talking about The Last Duel, Monster-in-Law, and Rushmore. There is no theme. There was going to be a theme, but then I quickly discovered that I cannot rely on my friends for anything important. First up is The Last Duel. This is the brand new Ridley Scott movie starring Matt Damon, Adam Driver, Jodie Comer, and Ben Affleck. It is based on / inspired by true events, and it's about these two guys in France who used to be best buds, but then over the years grew apart and ended up hating each other, and it got to the point where one of them rapes the other one's wife, and it's real messed up. I really like this movie, and I definitely recommend it. I first off just loved the structure of the movie, because it's divided into 3 chapters, with each of them being from different perspectives. So the first one's all from Matt Damon's perspective, the second one's from Adam Driver's perspective, and the third one's from Jodie Comer's perspective. It's really neat because you get to see the same scenes, but how other people interpret them. And that's just fascinating. And it's also just like you're seeing how everyone interprets both their own actions and other people's actions. So like when Matt Damon does something and it's from his perspective, he's like, yes, it's big and courageous and I'm a hero. But when it's from Adam Driver's perspective, he's kind of an arrogant doofus. And then when it's from Jodie's perspective, it's kind of a mixed bag. I will say, prepare yourself for the pacing because it kind of goes at a fast pace, just because it's like kind of getting through a lot of story as quickly as it can. It is a longer movie, but it didn't feel like a long movie to me. And I would almost say as like a criticism or like a critique, but it's so minor, is that they probably could have done this as like a 3-part miniseries, really, like giving each story like 90+ minutes to tell an even more fuller story. But honestly, like, this movie's great. This movie's terrific. We don't need that. This is just me being like, whatevskis. Really enjoyed this movie. Definitely recommend it. You're in for an action-packed, yet heartbreaking, but good time. Next up is Monster-in-Law. This is a 2005 movie starring Jennifer Lopez and my 8th Jane Fonda film. This is the oldest I've seen Jane Fonda. The basic premise is Jennifer Lopez is going to marry this ridiculously handsome man, but it turns out that his mother is Jane Fonda and she is if I'm being totally honest, she's a in this. Like, just terrible. It was difficult to watch at times. Now, I will say I enjoyed this movie like up through the halfway mark. It was cute, it was fun, but like at the beginning of the second act, J-Lo and Jane Fonda just started like being mean to each other all the time, and it was kind of funny, but it started to wear on me, so I did pause this movie halfway through because I'm like, I'm liking it, but like let's give it a little break, let's relax a little bit, so maybe I can, maybe I'll still like this movie more. And when I unpaused it kind of failed to keep my attention. It was all right. I wasn't really enjoying myself as much. It was okay. But then we get to the end where the 2 main characters come together and realize that they have to still live together because, they both love the same person. We're gonna be in each other's lives. Let's not be dicks to each other type of moment. They were, saying their apologies and stuff. And then J-Lo says something and it just broke me. I started crying hard. And I'm like, why am I crying right now? I wasn't even that into this movie, but it's so that was unexpected. The movie did its job and it got me emotional. So like that bumped it up a good amount in the rankings. So good job, movie. As far as recommendation goes, I would say if you think this is your jam, go for it. It's not a bad movie. It's cute, it's nice. So yeah. And lastly is Rushmore. This is a 1998 Wes Anderson movie. It is his 2nd movie. The basic premise is Jason Schwartzman, who's 18, plays a high schooler who really loves high school, but he's really bad at academia. So like he's on the verge of failing out of private school. So he's just constantly scheming his way around it. I like Wes Anderson in general. I own a few of his films, but for whatever reason, I just really didn't care for this movie. Though I strongly think had I seen this movie back in high school, I would have crazy loved it. And honestly, if I would have watched it on a different day, I think I could have enjoyed it a bit more. I think it was that particular day, it really grinded me the wrong way. I think a lot of it had to do with just like, it's supposed to be a 15-year-old boy who's madly in love with a 30-year-old woman, and she kind of flirts back. I think that's what really got me, because it feels really gross. This is a loved film, and I can understand why people love it. It just didn't work for me, and I feel bad about it, but I mean, it is what it is. I can't help it. I just didn't care for it. If you're a fan of Wes Anderson in general, you've probably already seen this movie. I will say, though, it's not as Wes Anderson-y as his later films go on to be, but you can still get the Wes Anderson-ish vibe from it. I'll leave it up to you if you want to watch this film or not. I didn't really care for it, though. Alrighty, now for today's rankings. First up, we got The Last Duel, sitting at number 7 in the really like section of the new movies. And that is out of a total of 57 new movies so far this year. And now jumping over to the old movies from this year, we got Monster-in-Law, sitting at number 122 in the liked section. And then bringing up the rear is Rushmore, sitting at number 187 in the May category, and has out of a total of 234 old movies so far this year. And all that together brings the grand total up to 291.